Okay, year 8. So what we're going to do is you need to have a look at the artist Jeff Koons, and you need to create a really imaginative, well thought out page on this artist, because we're used to using one artist for inspiration. However, we now need to start focusing on how we're going to use two. Okay, so first of all, you're going to have your double page spread. All right, so if you've got one page spare, okay, or you've got a few marks on that page, all right, don't start on this page, turn it over so you've got two completely brand new pages. Okay, so you should have had a look on the board, or you could have had a look on the board, how you can lay out your page. This is going to be a little bit of time for you to use your imagination a little bit more. So having a look at Jeff Koons' work, it's very bright, very bold, and he also creates a lot of balloon animals, balloon sculptures that look like balloon animals. So don't just copy exactly what I do. Make sure that you're using your imagination. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to start off just by writing the artist's name, okay, across my double page spread, making sure it fits. All right, so I've just written that on very lightly. Sorry for those of you that can't see it. I'll do it a bit harder for you. Okay, don't you press this hard. I'm just pressing a little bit harder so you can see it on the video. Okay, so make sure you spell his name right. But I've written that so that I know where it's going to go. So what I'm now going to do is I'm now going to do some nice fancy, really fancy bubble writing. You can do this in whatever way you like. Okay, if you do it in the style of the artist, of course you get a few more extra marks. You start heading towards the the exceeding side of the artwork grading. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these into little highlights. Okay, so they actually look like balloons. So just put little highlights on there. Koons rhymes with balloons. Right, so you can start off doing your writing now if you wanted to. Right, don't rush it like me, of course. Take your time with it, all right? So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to get a pen. Little black fine tipped pen like this. Okay, and I'm now going to outline this. Now if you don't have one of these, you can use your black biro as normal. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to try make it look like the balloons are overlapping. Okay, so this title's really important at trying to make it look like the artist's work. Okay, now if you don't have colours with you in school today, it's absolutely fine. You can just do the outline in your pencil if you want, and then take it home to try to colour into it. And if you want to know how to do this for homework to make it better, then you can always have a look at the YouTube online learning. And have a little look at how I carry on with this. That way you've got support at home as well, should you want it. So if you haven't started doing your lettering, make sure you do it now. And again, try not to copy me. Have a little look at how Jeff Koons does his work. So if I've not handed out the sheets already, this is a little reminder to tell myself to get those sheets out to you with all the pictures of Jeff Koons' work on there. So then you've got a bit more inspiration. at home, what I would like you to try and do is to try and add a background in. That'd be lovely. If you have the correct equipment with you now, the equipment that you'd like to use, the colours, etc., then by all means have a go at adding a nice background in. But if you've got paints at home, you would like to use paints, maybe you could use paints. You might not want to outline yours in black. You might want to outline yours in a completely different colour. That's fine. Hey, what I'm now going to do is, I quite like the balloon idea. So, I'm just going to put on the bottom of some of them. All of them. Right, little balloon bottoms. And I'm just going to add in little strings. Just taking them all the way to the bottom. So if you're developing, you might want to use some of this as inspiration, what I'm doing. If you're meeting, then try and find a different way of presenting your page. If you are exceeding, then think about how you can do that a lot more imaginatively. Okay, so that's my title. I will add colour shortly. Okay, so what you should have also been given, hopefully if I've done my job correctly, you should have also been given some pictures by Jeff Koons. Now, some of you may not want all of these pictures on your artwork, on your page. All right, that's absolutely fine. All right, I would, however, I would, however, like you to have 6 pictures on this page. But if you really, really, really don't like one of them, it's not for you, then you're more than welcome to go home, okay, and print out some more. Maybe you prefer, maybe you'd like to have a little look at some other pictures to make them a little bit more personal to you, all right, especially if you're aiming for exceeding. Don't just go for the ones that I've given you, all right? But by all means today, please do use at least 3, maybe more, of these pictures that you really, really like. Okay, now, as you can see, my title's really, really big. And I've got all these little balloon strings coming off the bottom. Some of these are going to be a little bit too big for my page. I'll show you what to do with them, all right? Now, so let's start off with, I really, really like this one here. I like all of the geometric shapes, so I'm going to chop that one up. If, like me, you do not have any glue at home, okay, then we need to try and come up with alternatives. I would rather that you didn't sellotape your pictures in your book, unless you've got fancy sellotape like I have. Right, then I'll show you what to do. All right, you're better off cutting out all of your pictures first. I don't like that one there, so I'm going to leave that one out. And when I go home, I am going to print out one that I prefer. Okay, but at the moment, I do quite like the others. All right, the reason why you're cutting them all out is so that you can look and think about where they're going to go on your page. Remember, if you really, really like Jeff Koons' work, okay, then what you need to do is you need to also find a section on this page where you can have a go at recreating some of his work. So if when you're creating your own piece of work in the style of either Roy Lichtenstein or Jeff Koons, if you would prefer to do a piece of work in the style of Jeff Koons, you need to definitely add a small drawing of his work on your page. Okay? So for the sake of this task, I'm going to leave out these two here. And I'm just going to cut out these big ones. Remember though, I would like to try and put 6 pictures on your page. You might want to make one really big because you really, really like it. 5 a bit smaller. But the brighter your page, the more it hides mistakes. Okay, so I really like Jeff Koons, so I need to save a little space to do a drawing, and I think I'm going to save this space up here actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a little box, because I'm not going to draw it in a square. I'm going to draw a close-up. Okay, I'm going to draw a close-up there, and I think I'm going to draw a close-up of this little dinosaur. I'm going to try and draw his head in here and then some of the background. So I'm only going to draw a little section of it, okay? So that's why I've drawn it in this a bit of a wonky kind of box. Now I'll press on a little bit harder so you can see it on the video. Again, it's a bit more imaginative than just drawing in a box all the time. So I'm following my patterns of my lettering look. Okay, so hopefully you can see that a bit more. So at some point I'm going to draw, okay, this little dinosaur here. I'm going to add shading into it. All right, so I quite like that one. So I think I'm going to make sure that I have this one, all right, nice and big. Okay, it's got to be near that. So I think I'm going to put this one here. Okay, but all this blue, all right, I know what that looks like. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut that out. Try not to cut too much out of your picture. However, if you know that it's going to be blue, then you've got a little bit more scope for cutting it out. All right. Now, there's lots of different ways that you can present these pictures. Number one, you could just glue them in as they are. Okay. However, I personally think that that's just a little bit too boring. All right. So what I'm going to do is, I don't have any glue stick at home, but I do have this nice tape. Right, so all I'm going to do, rip off that bit because I've ruined it, is I am going to stick my picture in using this tape. Now my tape matches the kind of style, if you look at that, it's dots from Roy Lichtenstein. So therefore it does go. You could find other ways of maybe using some tape to stick your pictures into your book. Okay, you could maybe use masking tape, white tape, and draw over the top, making pretty patterns. Okay, if you don't have any tape at home, don't worry. I'll show you another way to do it in a second once I've got this one stuck in. Likely in the lesson, you'll probably just concentrating on doing your border. That's absolutely fine. But at some point in the lesson, some of you might actually get to sticking your pictures in your book, which is fantastic. Okay, so I'll make sure that's all nice and stuck down. So my page at the moment is starting to look quite nice. Okay, so I've also got all of these. And I think, well, where are they going to go? Okay, that one takes up a lot. I'm going to get rid of a lot of my my bubble strings here. Okay, and this one kind of can go there, and maybe that one can go there. All right, so we've also got to fit some writing on here too, so I don't want to take up too much of my space. Okay, so what we've got is, if you don't have this tape and you've only got glue, you might have some paper in school. Okay, is for this one, I quite like these dots in the background, but I also really like this character. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop this elephant off here. I still want the bits in the background, so it's very, very pop art, that one. Okay, and there's no harm in chopping bits of your artwork off, because it just means that you're zooming into a small section. Okay, and keep that just in case maybe you can stick that somewhere else on a page. Maybe not at the moment. Okay, and I'm going to stick this one here. Okay, so what I've got here is I have got I've printed off the front cover of a Beano. And the reason why I've done that is because I don't just want to stick the pictures in my book. I want to stick them onto something. And I want to stick them onto, maybe, I haven't got a Beano comic that I want to cut up. All right, but could I stick them onto this bit here? Okay, so it's not too chaotic. Okay, but I like this black and white in the background. Okay, now that's option number one. You can get some glue, if you've got glue at home, stick it onto this page here. Okay, so then you've got a little bit more of a funky background. Problem is with this is because it's quite chaotic. If I stuck it on here, it's going to take attention away from the actual image. So you want to choose a section where it's not going to take away too much attention away from the image. Okay. And what I do have at home is high-tack spray, so I'll just be careful. Make sure I don't get that anywhere on the table. Okay. And I'm going to glue that, so I've got a bit of this in the background, a bit of the Beano Dennis the Menace pattern in the background. Okay, so I've stuck that onto my sheet. Now what I'm going to do is just chop it. Okay. So there's a very, very, very thin background. Personally, I still find that this is quite a bit chaotic. All right, that's my preference. Some of you might actually quite like it. Okay, it works quite well with the white border there as well, doesn't it? All right, but this, because I've stuck it onto a comic, that's a popular culture image. All right, so that's one way of presenting your pictures. Okay, so what I'll do now is, because I've not got glue stick, I'll just have to use this spray tack. And I'm going to stick this right in the corner, which gives me plenty of space to do some writing later. Okay, unlike my spray tack, can you make sure one of your corners are glued down, because that's got to stay in your book for a long time. So what I'm going to do is, with my little tape, just going to stick down the corners. Okay, make sure then it stays in my book. There's creative ways of doing it as well. Okay, so another alternative is, if you haven't got any fancy backgrounds, or you can't print off, you can just print off in black and white for these pictures, the backgrounds if you want. You don't have any tape, you're like me, you don't have any glue. Sorry, if you've got glue at home. Hopefully you've all got some kind of glue at home, unlike me. What you can do is then glue your picture in your book. And then, and this is mainly probably for the lesson today, all right, what you can do is around the edge, you can then create your own borders. So if, like me, you love the Beano, you love comics, maybe then what you can do is you can actually draw your own borders around the edge. So with my black pen here, I am just going to draw a Dennis the Menace pattern around the edge. So therefore, I am creating a border using felt tip or pencil crayon. And again, you can start this off in the lesson today if you don't have any felt tips or pencil crayons with you today. Okay, so I'll just use red now to colour it in the middle. So I've got the black and white stripes of Dennis the Menace there. And I'll do the one next to the picture as well. Now you could make these a bit thicker if you wanted to, because the red and black of Dennis the Menace and Minnie the Minx's jumper is a bit thicker, isn't it? Take your time a little bit more than me. Okay, so now I've drawn my own border around the edge of that picture. Okay, if you're like me, again, you get into the point of where you've got this picture, you don't want to stick it there because it's taking up too much space. You've got a bit of a gap up here. Okay, then what you can do is you can, instead of chopping bits off in squares, why not get your pencil, see where your lettering is, and then just draw the bit that you're going to cut off. So it kind of forms around the title, his name if you want. Okay, and then you can stick that in the corner there. Now I've got 3 pictures here, okay, that have got some kind of border. So maybe what I'll do is I'll see if that one looks okay on its own. I'll just get my glue. And I'm going to stick that right in the corner, so it's almost like it's creating a white border as well. Okay, around the edge. Right, and get that glued in. And I can assess whether I think, actually, do you know what, I quite like that without a border, because the other 3, is it going to be a bit chaotic if I put a border around that one, so I'll just leave it for now. Okay, so that's how to present your page with your lettering and your pictures by your artist. Now remember, okay, I do want you to have 6 pictures, if possible. But if you have got 4 that work really, really well and you think it works on your page, then that's absolutely fine, especially if you are going to create your own drawing as well. All right, so all I'm going to do now is work independently on this page. But before I do this, what I do want to do, before I start to add any background, before I start to add any colour, before I do this bit, rub out all the pencil of my title. And then I'm going to do my my writing. So you have got to think about what you want to add into here, what you want to add into the background to make it look really, really nice. Okay, so let's start off with some writing. Remember what we did with Roy Lichtenstein, okay? Here's your questions. We wrote on different lines. We didn't just write straight. Okay, so all I'm going to do is start answering some of these questions now. Okay, so the artist is called Jeff Koons. He was born 21st of January 1955. He is a pop artist and uses popular culture objects to create his work. His work was created in the 20th century. Okay, that's my first section done. All right, so I could write again wiggly lines on here, so maybe I can get my red pen for this one and put myself some lines so it helps me write quite neatly. All right, it's a different way of writing. This way I quite like it, but now I want to write a bit neater. Okay, I can change my style of writing if I want. I can change my pen. I can write in red or green. Let's use some bright colours, okay? But maybe I'll colour this in shortly. Okay, so it's content and form next. What is the image of? So choose your favourite picture. Okay, if you've drawn one, I'd probably suggest that you write about the picture that you've drawn. So, my content and form, I've written here. The images of toys that were popular at the time. The artwork was created. I can see some popcorn, a snowman and a dinosaur. They're all set up in a still life and then drawn, stroke painted. It kind of looks like a child has just finished playing with them as they are all over a table. Okay, so that's answered. What is the image of? What can you see? How is the image arranged? Okay, I don't know the composition. I've not taught you about composition yet, but I can say that it looks like all of the objects have been left by a child played on the table. Or after finished playing with them. Okay, so my next one is, I quite like this red. So I'm going to carry on this red theme, writing on red lines. Is process. How do I think it's been created? Okay, so how I think it's been created. The image looks like it has been created, it looks like it has been painted or drawn using digital media. I think this because the images stroke toys are very bright and highlighted. They also look like the artist has used Photoshop. Now here, you could also write about maybe you know how to enhance a picture, maybe you know how to use some of these sketching apps, and you know how to recreate them. All right, you know how to smudge and smooth and blend, okay, and you could talk about that app as well and get you even more points. Okay, so my last one is going to be done just writing. I'm going to answer the mood section.